It's time for Recipe of the Day. Let's talk about Velveeta. I love it. It is a processed cheese product, and I'm not ashamed to admit that it is creamy and salty and cheesy, and I really love using it to make queso. I put it in my pierogi filling, so it's like mashed potatoes, real cheddar cheese, seasonings, and then Velveeta to make it extra smooth and give it more orange color, little salt, that creaminess. So Velveeta is a thing that I love. I don't buy it very often though, and there's a good reason for that. If there is a block of Velveeta in my fridge, there is a chance there will be a cube of Velveeta in my mouth at any given moment. So I don't buy it very often, but I do get it when I need it for something. If I'm making pierogies, if I'm doing like a queso dip, that kind of thing, I will buy a block of Velveeta. And it so happened that I had some Velveeta in the house a couple of months ago, and I decided I wanted to use it to make some mac and cheese. Had this leftover Velveeta. I had some elbow macaroni in the pantry. I'm going to make mac and cheese with this. I did go online and looked up like Velveeta mac and cheese recipes, and I assumed it was going to just say like melt the Velveeta, pour it into the noodles. I really thought that was going to be it, but I wanted to make sure. Instead, recipe after recipe has you make a roux with like butter and flour and then add milk to it and then warm that up and then add your Velveeta to that. And I was like, well, if I'm going to do that, I would just use the regular cheddar cheese. Like, what is the purpose, benefit, anything of having my Velveeta? And it's nice and convenient and it melts nice and makes a good cheese sauce. Why would I use that if I have to make a sauce first to add it to? You know what I mean? And so I had to do it. I had to just suck it up and try doing it for myself and see what happens if you cook up some macaroni and just throw some cubes of Velveeta in there. Does it turn into mac and cheese? It doesn't, not quite, but I now know how to do it. I figured it out, and I'm telling you, this is so good. If you have some Velveeta on hand because you keep it on hand or because you were making pierogies, probably not, right? That's just a thing I do, or queso or anything like that, then you have to try this recipe. It is really, really good. Quick, easy, delicious, lovely mac and cheese, and literally 3 ingredients. So first, what exactly is Velveeta? So it is a brand of processed cheese that started out in 1918. It was originally made from real cheese, but now it is classified as a pasteurized prepared cheese product. It has a very similar texture to American cheese or Cheese Whiz, both of which you can use in this recipe. I've tried it, and it is made of whey, milk, water, milk protein concentrate, lactic acid, enzymes, salt, and cheese culture. Let's forget I said all that because that doesn't really make me want to eat it, but it is good, creamy. It's sold in like a long block, and then there's a foil package inside. You cut open the foil package, and then you get into that cheesy goodness. Okay, so how do you make this very easy 3-ingredient mac and cheese using Velveeta? You're going to start by taking a half pound of Velveeta out of the fridge, and you're going to cut that into small cubes. The smaller they are, the easier they're going to melt into the pasta later. So take the extra moment, cut them into small cubes, and then just leave them off to the side at room temperature while the pasta cooks. And that's just because everything that we can do to help that Velveeta melt is going to make our sauce better, and you will find out why in a second. So then you're cooking your macaroni according to the package directions. It is 2 cups of elbow macaroni, that's 8 ounces, for 1/2 pound of Velveeta, which is the amount that we are going to be using. So you're cooking that in a big pot of salted water, but before you drain it, you want to remove 1 cup of the cooking water from the pot. That's going to be very important. And so I'm going to tell you the thing that I always tell you. Whenever you encounter a recipe that tells you that you're going to be removing some of that water from the pot before draining it, it is very possible that you will forget to do it, and you will just be pouring it down into the colander, down the drain, and you're going to remember at the last moment when it is too late. This has happened to me way too many times. So what you do is you get your colander as soon as you read in the recipe, like before you've even started doing anything, when you're reading the recipe and it says scoop out some pasta water before draining. At that moment, get out your colander, put it in the sink, and then put a measuring cup in the colander. Now, I am not advising that when you go to drain your pasta, you just drain it over that measuring cup. Chances are it's going to tip over and you're going to lose the water. It is there to remind you. So when you come to your colander with your pot in your hands, you're holding it there, you're ready to dump it down the colander. Instead, you see that measuring cup, you put your pot back on the stove, you get the measuring cup, scoop out some of that water, water, take the measuring cup, set it aside, and then pour your pasta through the colander. Okay, so that is what you're doing. Then put the pasta back into the pot it cooked in because that pot is warm. And again, we want as much warmth as we can, right? Because we want to melt that Velveeta. And then immediately you are adding 2 tablespoons of melted butter. I probably should have told you to melt the butter a little while ago, but it's fine. While the pasta is cooking, you put 2 tablespoons of butter into a bowl and you melt it. It should be nice and melty and warm at this point, and you stir that into the pasta. Now, I said that this recipe is 3 ingredients. That's absolutely true. Well, 3 ingredients plus the salt. You've got the Velveeta, the macaroni, and the salted water, the salt, the water, and then the butter. But you can optionally add some other things if you'd like to. Some people are purists with their mac and cheese and they want it to just taste like cheese and noodles. But if you like some little background flavors, you can add 1 to 2 of the following: a 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder, a 1/4 teaspoon of onion powder, a 1/4 teaspoon of mustard powder, a 1/4 teaspoon of paprika or smoked paprika, a 1/4 teaspoon of chili powder, or a pinch of cayenne. So you can add those then right after you've stirred in the butter, and then you add in that 1/2 pound of cubed Velveeta and you stir it for about 30 seconds to start it melting, and then you start drizzling in your hot pasta water. So the idea here is you want to melt the Velveeta as much as possible before you add the water, because we're trying to add as little water as possible. We want this to be as cheesy as it can be. So that's why we've done everything we can to get that Velveeta to melt quickly, and we've used the warm pot, the hot pasta, the butter is warm and melted, right? The Velveeta goes in small cubes, stir it. It's going to be like half melted at that point. Drizzle in about 2 tablespoons of your hot pasta cooking water and then keep stirring. That is probably all that you're going to need. You're going to stir it for a good minute or so, and then all of that Velveeta is going to be melted and you're going to have this nice creamy sauce that's coating every noodle. If the Velveeta is not fully melted, if there's a little bit that is still like in little chunks, then you can go in with a little bit more of that pasta water and you're going to have a beautiful smooth sauce. 3 ingredients, super easy to make, and it tastes like that really nice processed Velveeta flavor. I love it. I don't know if you do. Well, I mean, I guess if you don't like Velveeta, you probably stopped listening a long time ago. So I'm going to assume that you like it too. I will put the link to this recipe in the show notes for this podcast episode, or you can head to cookthestory.com/ROTD and get it there. Everything there is arranged by date, so it's helpful to know that today is August 18th of 2025. Or you can join our Facebook group. I post the link to the recipe of the day every day in the morning in that group. You can go to cookthestory.com/group and it will take you right there magically and you can join. I'm Christine Pittman from cookthestory.com, thecookful.com, the all new chicken cookbook, and from this podcast, recipe of the day. I hope you have a great day. Let's get cooking.